It's not a chronic bacterial infection. You just don't feel very good. So let's make sure that we can get the chemical messengers. We're talking about hormones, and it's not just thyroid, and it's not just adrenal hormone, and it's not just estrogen, and it's not like it's all of them working in harmony and balance. And then we don't have to have this horrible problem where you're just so dang tired all the time. And this is what we're trying to get away from, is this chronic fatigue problem where, hey, I just can't function, and I go to bed and I wake up and I feel like I didn't even get any sleep. And I tell people, hey, you know what? That's just like searching for cracks in your eyelids. You're just tired all the time. And then there's a lot of functional medicine, alternative medicine, and traditional mismanagement on fatigue. And the purpose of this program is I just want to help you. So to give you some ideas of what you can do at home, there's a really neat video that we're putting in this about Ragland's test. I'm going to show you how we do it right inside of the office with my assistant Macy. We just wanted to show people like this is a really simple, inexpensive way to get a look into your hormones. It doesn't test all of their hormones, but I'll tell you this. Dr. Ragland came up with this at-home test where you can take your blood pressure lying and standing, compare the different blood pressures and the pulse rate. He was just way ahead of his time understanding functional medicine, and no one wants to live their life tired. I mean, no one wants to be looking at, hey, you know what? These are my stress organs. So these are the adrenal glands. This is your fight or flight response. And when we do that test called Ragland's test, what happens is this is a really neat way to say, you know what, if your adrenals are off, your thyroid's going to be off. If the thyroid's off, for sure the pituitary is going to be mad and screaming. That's kind of the anti-aging hormone. And then what happens, it goes and works on your liver hormones and your parathyroid, all these hormones. It just creates confusion. And you know what happens when we get confusion in the body is we just have a problem with burning out our glands. And so I was a little bit ahead of myself on this segment right here, but the adrenal glands, these golf ball shaped glands that sit on top of each kidney, they are so important for your cortisol levels, which is your fight or flight levels. It also gives direct feedback back to the thyroid, which is your metabolism hormone. And if you're having problems with temperature regulation, you're hot all the time, you're cold all the time, you're shivering, you're sweating, you can't temperature regulate, dry skin, brittle nails, inability to lose weight, when you're starting to accumulate around the waist and around the hips, we have this imbalance that's happening between the adrenals and the thyroid. And so trying to help people to give the body a sense of balance, a sense of control, then we don't have to worry about this. I don't know how many people are out there that feel that, you know what, not only am I tired, but I'm overweight. Like, this isn't fair. Like, I should be able to tap into the stored energy to feel better, and a miscommunication between hormones. And maybe there's a better way to say it like this. Your hormones are like chemical messengers that allow your organs to talk to each other. So imagine that you're in medieval times and we have, a castle over here and a castle over there, and we wanted to get a message from one castle to another. Now there's probably a lot of different ways to do that, but one was the use of carrier pigeons where we'd put a message and it would go fly from one castle to the other. Well, that's what a hormone is. A hormone is the chemical messenger, and if we don't have it regulated, you can be tired and you can be overweight. And it just seems so unfair to have both of these occurring, and it's because we have burnout the hormone system regulators. So usually what happens, people start feeling tired, maybe their sleep sanctuary isn't dialed in, or what happens is they have a low recurring infection. We have Epstein-Barr, or we have herpes simplex 1, which is the cold sore virus, or maybe we have a shingles reactivation, or something's happening and it starts dropping the energy levels. Well, in a chronic stress situation, what happens is we get that fight or flight response. So we go over to our adrenal glands, we ask them for some adrenaline, and the adrenaline gives us this sense of energy. And one of the things that people don't know that they're doing a lot is if your only energy source is to go in and tap your hormones to get energy, what happens is people will manufacture stressful situations so that they can feel good. And I don't know if you know people that they'll go out and they'll create a stress either by starving their body, so they'll start skipping meals, or they think, oh, I got to get to the gym more. I got to build everything up. They do over exercise, or they create a relationship problem at work or in their family where they have some agitation because they get some energy out of that. And I think it's a subconscious protection program or system that occurs because the body doesn't, the mind doesn't know what else to do. We got to stress the body to release the adrenaline hormone. Then what happens is the adrenals get exhausted, and then what happens with the adrenals getting exhausted, it pushes the workload over to the heart, and then what happens is it starts to get all of the hormones involved. And so what happens is there's imbalance in just about everything that's happening inside of the body. And so this is what happens. We get this crazy hormone imbalance. We have the thyroid's off, the pituitary's off, and a lot of doctors, they aren't looking at how can we put it back in harmony. They're just like, well, here, take this thyroid hormone, or let's give you this antidepressant. It is a common pathway that I see. No one's looking at, hey, how does it all get organized? So one of the purposes of doing this program, this is the fourth part of our chronic disease program, is the way to help people with this is to put everything back into balance and help people to get their metabolism going right. We want to check out the testosterone levels. Sorry, I got something, a bug flew in here right in the middle of the presentation. Then we want to help getting more and more balance and harmony. So let me give you a couple ideas of how to make this happen so that you don't have crazy hormones. So the hormones, again, they control the body's processes, for example, your temperature and your heart rate. When they're out of balance, even a small amount, they can cause a wide range of symptoms, feeling tired, trouble sleeping. So what happens is most doctors will start looking at your thyroid balance and doing a TSH, which is a thyroid stimulating hormone. Sometimes they'll do a T4 and a T3. So one of the ways that we can help figure out if this is a problem is let's just make sure that you get a full thyroid panel, a T3 and a T4 hormone program. The other one is making sure we have an adequate balance of estrogen and progesterone. And so many times guys are like, wait a minute, I don't have any of that stuff in my body. Those are female hormones. Well, maybe they were skipping school, fell asleep in high school biology because men have estrogen and progesterone and women have testosterone. And when they're not in harmony or balance, they're off. Some of the causes of low testosterone or low estrogen, exercising too much, not eating enough. So many times when people start to accumulate weight gain around their stomach, they'll start, hey, you know what? I need to go into the myth of it's calories in and exercise out. Like that is not what's happening with metabolism. There's a component of that, but there's also how are you using the hormones and how are you using the food sources? And if we have the wrong things in your system, again, we're having this crazy hormone problem. Also, it's natural as you age for your estrogen and levels to decrease. It's very common to experience chronic fatigue, mood swings, headaches, and finding hard to concentrate. That's what happens when we don't have the chemical messengers in the body. So I'm going to show you a quick little video at the end of how you can get some home health information about your hormone situation. There's the other one that's really important to consider is looking at, nutrient deficiencies, making sure that we have a sleep sanctuary. Sometimes I feel like a broken record when people ask me, what's the best thing that you can do for health? The best thing that you can do for health is start with water, healthy and alive foods, going to bed, but getting up at the same time, trying to go to bed at the same time, and then making sure that we have an accurate assessment. We want to look through some simple testing, a complete blood cell count, and looking at your white blood cells, your red blood cells, looking at a complete metabolic panel, which is measuring your blood sugar levels, your kidneys, your kidney filtration rate, your liver enzymes, your blood sugar levels. And a miss or overlooked thing all the time in medicine is looking at your pH levels. There's a way to look on blood tests. There's a way to look at saliva pH. There's a way to look at urinary pH. There's also the liver hormone balance system. We can look at not only the normal liver enzymes like the AST and the ALT, but also the alkaline phosphatase, which is a zinc-dependent enzyme that's helped regulating by the pituitary gland that helps to look at your muscle health and your bone health and your liver health. And there are so many different ways to get an inside look at your hormones. So it's not just that we have fatigue. There's so many different causes of fatigue. This is a program looking at your hormone function. I'm going to show you a video of Macy and I inside of the office doing what we call Ragland's test, and then I'm going to tell you what the next step are after this. So check this out. Hey, have you ever wondered if your hormones are out of balance? Well, check it out. This is the easiest and most cost-effective way to evaluate if you have a hormone problem. It's called Ragland's test. Now, what Ragland's test is, it's a way to evaluate if your adrenal glands are telling your body what it's supposed to do. It's also a chronic stress indicator. And what we do is we take your blood pressure lying down. It should be 120/80, and a pulse rate is 60 to 90. And then we have you stand up. It's like a mini stress test. And in perfect physiology, the adrenal glands are supposed to immediately tell the heart to beat harder. Otherwise, the blood's going to run out of your head. And frequently how people adapt is the heart is tired or weak, or it's not getting a very good signal from the adrenal glands. And so for the body to compensate, what it does is it revs up the heart rate. And so you have this really high end, and sometimes you'll get a diagnosis of POTS syndrome, which basically what it means is the adrenal glands are not telling the heart what's happening. So this is a really neat insight into your health by just doing a standing and lying blood pressure. So check it out. What you do is you have people get a resting heart rate and a resting blood pressure. So just have the patient lying flat, you take their blood pressure. First was perfect, 120/80. And then what we have her do is, Macy, just stand up. Now, in a perfect world, what should happen is her blood pressure should go up 6 to 10 beats on the systolic and the diastolic, and the pulse rate should stay the same. And how that works is the adrenal glands are just telling the heart, you gotta beat harder, not necessarily faster. And so this is a really neat way to see how are people managing stress? How are they dealing with it? How is it affected by their physiology? What's happening with their adrenal glands? And the neatest thing about it is it really doesn't cost anything to do it. And there's some really neat things that you can do from a nutritional support perspective. Vitamin B number 4, you can support the adrenal glands. You can use magnesium and protein morphogen therapy to build the heart. And so look at Macy's blood pressure. It went up just like it was supposed to, 120/131/88. Her pulse rate's changed a little bit, so she's got a little bit of stress, but this gives enormous insight in how your physiology's doing. This is Dr. Jason West and the West Clinic team. We'll see you guys on the next video. If you'd like some more information about different hormone testing, besides just Ragland's test, how to get the proper hormone workup, looking at recommendations for NHP, which is natural hormone precursor therapy. In my opinion, it's so much healthier than to just over-rely on a prescriptive medication, and it helps to build up hormones. It helps to build your thyroid, helps to build your adrenal glands. There's a really neat way to nutritionally support the pituitary gland. If this appeals to you, why don't you check out our entire program over at drjasonwest.live. That's www.drjasonwest.live. We have a complete chronic fatigue course that's available. It's not expensive, and we actually take your tuition for the course and we apply it to things that we can send to you, or an office visit, either inside the office or a virtual consult program. The name of the game is to try and help people to achieve and maintain optimal health by looking at their life and their nutritional intake, their food breakdown, what cutting-edge treatments are available to restore health, not just chemically mandate health. That's our program for tonight. Again, drjasonwest.live. You can get all of your information on chronic fatigue workshop. Join us every week, Wednesday at 6 o'clock on Facebook and YouTube. It's time to live, not just exist. We'll see you on the next video program.